Right. Let's go ahead things off. Thank you so much, everyone, for jumping in. We promise that this will be the most impactful lightning session, 15-minute round that you have ever attended. My name is Jess, and I am the local schools manager in the Carolinas. I'm based right out of Charlotte, North Carolina. We will get to introductions here in just a moment, but welcome to Practical Tips from not just veteran teachers, but our EVERFI Rockstar champion teachers. We have two amazing champion teachers with us who are gracious enough to join us today, provide valuable insights for you all as you begin thinking about how you would like to implement EVERFI into your classes this year. And we are so excited to have you here. So just a quick rundown. We will introduce ourselves here in just a moment, run through just setting the stage and objectives walking away from today's session, hear from our wonderful guest educators, provide you all with just a quick heads up on our classroom resources. Again, you will also be notified of these resources throughout the different sessions today, and then also just open up the floor for any questions at the end. So let's go ahead quickly and do a quick rundown of who we are. My name is Jess, like I shared with you all, based here in the Charlotte area. I am a support go-to implementation manager for teachers who are utilizing EVERFI resources here in the Carolinas. I was a former elementary school teacher for 10 years, took on many different roles throughout my time: instructional coach, interventionist, MTSS coordinator. After leaving the classroom, I dove right on into the educational technology world, spent some time at Discovery Education for a little bit before finally finding my home here at EVERFI. We also have Stephanie Vinson with us. Steph is a middle school computer science teacher in Charles County, Maryland. She is passionate about technology and girls in STEM. She also wears many different hats: club sponsor for the Girls Who Code Club, girls basketball coach, mentor to other middle school computer science teachers in her district. And she was also the January Washington Capitals Future Goals Teacher of the Month. She loves incorporating EVERFI into her curriculum as a tool to her students in a fun and unique manner. So I'm excited to hear from Steph today. And then we also have Cameron. Cameron Beckham is a former LACUE Teacher of the Year for all of you Louisiana folks, currently working as an educational technology instructor for Louisiana State University, as well as a social studies and economics teacher in a fully digital learning environment for high school students. So kudos to you, Cameron. Maintaining a belief that well-rounded students must be able to approach all subjects with strong analytical and problem-solving skills to succeed in an ever-changing and globalized community. Cameron connects academic pursuits to real-world applications. So excited for you all to hear from Cameron as well. So welcome, whether you are new to EVERFI, feeling stuck in your implementation, or just looking for fresh ideas, you have come to the right place. You are in the right session. We will be highlighting practical ideas and strategies from real-world educators who are currently using the EVERFI resources. You will also come away with new strategies that you can implement in your classes this coming school year. Please feel free to utilize the chat box. I know a lot of you have already started. And then we will also have a Q&A session at the end as well. So if you want to hold off for any follow-up questions, we'll make sure that we answer those. All right, so Steph, I'm going to go ahead and turn the microphone over to you. Have at it.
Thank you, Jessica, and good afternoon, everyone, and a special good afternoon to Sybil. I saw that you said you were right up the road from Clinton, so how are you? So I wanted to share with you a few ways in which I use EVERFI and I really explode the modules in this platform in my classroom. Sometimes I take those vocabulary words or those unit assessments they have at the end and I stick it into a Kahoot. And if you've ever used Kahoot, you know that students really love to get really excited about it. And it's a different way to really assess than just do the module and do the questions at the end. Another thing that I would suggest you use is the lesson plans they give you. There's great discussion questions that I like to use as a think, pair, share. What do you think about emotional contagion? Do you know what that is? Do you think that's important? Use it as some debates, really get some discussions going, and you'll really learn how students think and how they're really taking in what you're saying. Another thing that the lesson plan offers, as well as you can do, is use some skits, some role playing. On our cyberbullying session, one thing that I love to do as we go through the modules and as I really explore that particular idea that's happening is to let the students do a PSA, a poster. So we've learned about cyberbullying, we learned why it's not good, but now we're going to take it a little step further and let the students be creative and create a poster that we can really put up around the school or right outside of my classroom that really hones in that message. And big thing right now with students, social media. So it's any way that I can tie that in to what we're learning on this digital platform, digital wellness and safety. I love to do that. I've also used the future goals in STEM, but any of these ways that I've shared with you, try them out. I think the students get really excited. I've seen them get excited. The platform is amazing, and you can just do so much with it. So I hope this helps you think of different ways to incorporate some activities as you look at EVERFI and explode it.
Awesome. Thank you, Steph. Those were some awesome tips and tricks. I appreciate that. All right, let's go ahead and turn it on over to Cameron. Cameron, the microphone is yours.
Thanks, Jess. So I'm Cameron, as everybody just heard. I've been using EVERFI for several years across a variety of classrooms. I've used it in my STEM lab. I've used it in civics and economics classes. I've used it in career and technical education classes for high school and middle school, supplementing needs for schools as far as vaping awareness, say something and things like that. So in the years that I've been putting this to use, I've really come away with three important pointers that I feel like are going to help you get the most as you learn to implement EVERFI into your classroom. The first one I would say is just make it fit. Simply put, the variety of topics that EVERFI covers means that you're almost certainly going to be able to find something that is applicable to your students and their specific needs. But more to the point, there are specific lessons within each of these topics that are covered. And just as an example, in my former STEM program, which was a 3-year program, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade elective if they opted to stay with me for all 3 years, in 6th grade, we had to focus a lot at the beginning on, how to do everything in the lab. We have robotics, we do programming, we do digital art. There were all kinds of things that we would cover, which meant a lot of time and resources that were exclusively online. So before I let my, my baby 6th graders who had just come to me from elementary school jump into all these tools, they needed to take a kind of a introductory internet safety course just so I knew that I had laid down the expectations for how they're going to conduct themselves online. Now, most appropriately, that meant focusing on ignition, but not necessarily all of the modules right off the bat. There's an ignition module on, identifying reliable information. That's useful, but not in that exact moment. I would focus on, the safety and privacy module, maybe the screen time module, just as kind of a supplement, but making sure that you're tailoring it to the needs of your students at that moment in time and maybe revisiting the other ones later. The second one I would say would be, discuss and engage. EVERFI, the programs are tremendous. I wouldn't be here if I didn't truly think they were an awesome resource. But the only time I've seen them run into a little turbulence is when occasionally a teacher maybe misunderstands the point and wants to assign them and say, all right, well, these modules are due next Monday. I'll talk to you guys then. Most of us are probably not going to do that anyway, but it just, bears a little bit of emphasis that you still want to make sure you're discussing the topics that are presented, that you are relating them to the core content that your students are expected to learn within your classroom, and not just kind of letting them off the hook until they have passed that certification at the end of the lesson sets. And then the last one I would say would be to take the opportunity to supplement their learning. I had a student who was very much into hockey in my STEM lab a couple of years ago. And, being in Louisiana, honestly, there's not a tremendous amount of hockey talk around here. So it kind of stood out. So when he finished some of the other things that we were working on, he wanted to explore the Future Goals program. I mean, we're already in a STEM lab. That's fantastic. Of course, I want him to do that. But he wanted to explore it just because it was tied to the NHL. There may be situations where you teach an economics course and you want to focus on the classic EVERFI, the financial literacy, or maybe your school needs a little help with the Say Something units and dealing with bullying and speaking out when there are issues, or vaping, like I mentioned earlier. So there's a really great opportunity, given the divergent interest sets of your students and the courses that are offered, to let them explore some stuff on their own that maybe they wouldn't have the chance to do otherwise. So more or less, those are the big three for me.
Awesome. Super powerful, and really just real world application right there, Cameron. Love it. Thank you. So really quickly, before we open it up to any questions for our guest speakers, I just wanted to make sure that everybody, again, is aware of the resources. I know that this will be shown throughout each session that you go to today, but just a quick reminder, you can find all of these courses on your course catalog. There's a couple new and refreshed resources. We're constantly updating throughout the summer, midway through the school years. So just be on the lookout for any new releases if you have utilized EVERFI for a couple of years now. All right, so I am going to go ahead and open up the floor and see if there were any specific questions from you all. We have an awesome crowd of around 140 folks in here right now. If you would like to either chat into the chat box or come off mute, we have about 4 minutes left to just make sure that we help answer any questions that you might have. I did see a privacy question, Amber, and I thank you for asking. Yes, we integrate with Clever, and we will also be beginning to integrate with ClassLink. And so yes, like Erin mentioned, your local schools manager will be able to speak with you more about privacy related questions that you might have going forward. But yes, great question on that. Any immediate questions, follow-ups? So Schoology, yeah. So great question about the LMS platform Schoology. So we actually EVERFI does have the capability to be used alongside our different learning management systems like Schoology or Canvas. However, we don't necessarily work like a Schoology platform. You can definitely include EVERFI links and different resources that you can download from the EVERFI platform. And again, Cassandra, that is definitely something that your local schools manager can share more about. Mm-hmm. Google Classroom, we do have teachers that are utilizing EVERFI with their Google Classroom as well. Yep, great question to ask your local schools manager to get some other ideas of how local teachers in your area are utilizing that. Oh, so I'm gonna, this is a good question for either you, Steph or Cameron. Is there a way to do teacher-led EVERFI modules version student-paced? Have you ever utilized EVERFI where it is strictly student-led with no teacher driven?
I personally, I'm a little reluctant to hand over that much control. I've let them work in groups. I've let them do discussion topics, even some similarities to some of the stuff Steph mentioned earlier. But typically, I'm always pretty concerned with making sure that I am tying the EVERFI modules to the lessons that I'm trying to impart to them, just to make sure that they're making the connections, especially at the middle school level. They're fun. And sometimes they're so fun that I kind of have to remind them that you're actually still learning stuff that we really care about right now. So I always like to step in at the end of the day and tie everything back together personally.
Same here. I really take a whole class to really hone in on those objectives that we're learning. I'm not in favor of too much student-led because students They like to go from lesson 1 to lesson 6 back to lesson 3. And I just want to make sure that those objectives that they're getting are actually happening. So I use it pretty much the same way as Cameron does as well. Jessica, I did see a question specifically to me about Kahoot, if I may answer that. You asked about the Kahoot I used. Since EVERFI provides the resources to the answers to the assessment questions at the end, a lot of times I take those exact assessment questions and throw them into Kahoot and use it that way, or I'll use the definitions of the vocabulary for that lesson. I hope that helps. If you're looking up how I use Kahoot or what questions do I actually use, go to those resources. It has those assessment questions to kind of mix it up and kind of engage students that way.
Yeah, awesome. All right, folks, I see just a couple last minute questions. Yes, there are kindergarten, first, second grade level resources on the catalog tab of the teacher dashboard. Again, Alicia, there's your school's manager can also help support and give you some recommendations as well. Yes, what will happen is anytime a new course or a lesson or a unit gets updated, it is automatic. You will always have the most updated version of that course. Joanne, that is a fantastic question, and I'm glad that you asked that. So no need to continue to re-register year after year. Your EVERFI Educator account will constantly be updated to the most recent and current versions of the courses. Awesome. All right, y'all. So I know it's 1:01, so everyone has enough time to go into their next session. Again, you will be receiving follow-up information from this fantastic virtual conference at the end of the day. So thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you all. Thank you to Cameron and Steph. Thank you for Aaron for managing the chat. And hopefully you all are getting some rest and relaxation in during these summer months. So thank you all. We appreciate you. Hey, Melissa, good to hear from you.